Good afternoon. My name is Dan Taylor from danthepixarfan.com. Are you in need of a Pixar toy review today, sir?
No.
Oh, okay, well, we're still doing this. What's going on, guys? Super pumped to be back to finally share my review here of Mattel's Up-Inspired Featured Favorites Russell figure after all these months. This was released clear back in late May of this year, exclusively through the Mattel Creations website. I'll drop the link to buy below. Luckily, it's still in stock if you haven't snagged it yet. But yeah, I've been wanting to get this review up for months now. Sorry for the delay to anyone who had been anticipating this, so let's just get right into things here. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what this Featured Favorites line of figures is, since I've explained it countless times in so many of my other reviews, which you can check out, but ultimately, the most important thing to know is the Pixar Featured Favorites figures are part of Mattel's broader Pixar 7-inch scale action figure collection. It's just kind of a subcategory, if you will. One of several categories within the 7-inch scale collection. So what sets the Featured Favorites figures apart from the rest? Well, the main idea behind the Pixar Featured Favorites figures is they're supposed to be a bit more collector-centric compared to the basic or core 7-inch figures. The Featured Favorites figures are definitely geared and marketed more toward older Pixar fans in terms of the character selection, level of detail, the amount of accessories included, even down to the packaging. And to clear things up once again, no, the Featured Favorites line is not the Spotlight series. The Pixar Spotlight series and Featured Favorites are two different categories, but yes, they are both within Mattel's Pixar 7-inch scale line, and both are geared toward the older fans, so I guess I could understand any confusion if you're more of a casual collector. For more on Mattel's Spotlight series, though, check out my playlist by hitting the card above, and yeah, more reviews from that category are still coming soon as well, so stay tuned. Anyway, so Russell here, interestingly enough, is part of Featured Favorites Wave 1, despite him not getting released until May this year. The first wave in this line definitely has had some serious delay issues and super weird distribution. Here on the back you can see the rest of Wave 1. Both the Ratatouille set and the Nemo set, which I reviewed a long time ago, came out clear back in January this year, and were released only through Amazon. Then Russell here didn't release until May, and ended up being a Mattel Creations online exclusive. And then Mrs. Nesbit Buzz still hasn't been released. It's still delayed after all this time, but I'm hopeful it's still coming. If Russell finally got released through Mattel Creations, I'm sure, or at least I'm crossing my fingers, that Mrs. Nesbit won't be far behind at this point and will probably be sold through Mattel Creations as well. Very strange how rocky the first wave has been though, considering the complete second wave went super smooth and even got a wide in-store release at Target. By the way, if you're interested, you can check out all of my previous Pixar Featured Favorites reviews by hitting that playlist card above. Okay, right on. So what do you say we get this figure all opened up and check out all the details? So first of all, before we even get to Russell or the accessories, just like it is with the other Featured Favorites figures, I absolutely love that a removable cardboard backdrop is included. It not only makes for some great theming for inbox collectors, but for us who open things up, it's a great backdrop to display your loose figure against, and it can also be perfectly utilized for toy photography as well. So just keep that in mind before you consider throwing it away. And here's everything on the blister. I'm such a fan of this figure, guys. This thing looks perfect, and I love all the accessories he comes with. I'm gonna take a look at each piece individually first, then I'll dive into Russell himself. First up, we have Russell's backpack, which is more or less straight out of the film, and the subtle sculpted details look fantastic. Mattel could have just molded the backpack with all the components already sculpted on. That probably would have been easier, but it's awesome how most of his gear comes off as separate accessories. The shovel and bedroll underneath, though, can't be removed. Those ones are just part of the sculpt. However, it does look like, let's see here. Yep, awesome. The trumpet can be removed, which I wasn't quite sure about since it wasn't already separated from the backpack on the blister like the other pieces, so that's really cool. But yeah, as you can tell, not all his gear seen in the film is included or featured here on the backpack sculpt, but the bulk of things seem to be represented. Look, it even says his name there on this side, and I did check to see if that's how it is in the movie as well, but I couldn't find a shot that showed this part of the backpack clear enough to confirm. But if you know, you can let me know. So anyway, that's the bare bones backpack as it is right off the blister, and since the straps don't seem to detach or anything, it looks like this should just slip right over Russell's arms to get this on him, which I'll be testing out as soon as I get all the accessories pegged into it, so stick around. Next up, here's the rope accessory. It's all just one molded piece. And for the most film-accurate look, go ahead and plug it into the hole on this side, but you can obviously mix things up if you want to by inserting it into any of the other compatible holes as well. Next we have here what looks like one of those classic nesting camping mess kits, a must-have for any wilderness explorer, of course, and that inserts right into this hole here. Third, there's this orange Wilderness Explorer flag featuring the Wilderness Explorer logo on it, and this can actually be inserted into either of these holes on the top here, but again, to keep things the most film accurate here for now, we're gonna put it on this side. There we go. The backpack is almost complete now. The last piece of gear that attaches to the backpack is this little camping cup or mug. For this one, there's a specific hole. The handle goes in like this, and there you go. Oh, and I just noticed the Wilderness Explorer logo here on this mug as well. Very cute, nice little detail. And well, everyone, that is it. That is the completed backpack with all of Russell's gear attached. So moving on to the last accessory, and this isn't something that goes on the backpack. Russell also comes with this chocolate bar with a bite taken out of it, just as it appears in the film. And yes, this is literally the exact same chocolate bar accessory that came with the Kevin Spotlight series figure last year, with no differences whatsoever, not even worth showing a comparison here since they're completely identical. All right, moving on to the Russell figure itself. Once again, this thing is pretty perfect, but now really what I wanted to address was one of the first things that you may have thought of or asked yourself when seeing this video pop up, which is, didn't Mattel already recently release a very similar Russell figure in this scale earlier this year? Why, yes they did, in the Pixar Interactables electronic talking figure assortment, which is yet another subcategory of the Pixar 7-inch scale figure line. So, since this figure is so similar, I'm gonna keep my thoughts on this figure short here, and then I'd recommend you go ahead and hit that card above if you missed my review of the Interactables Russell figure. Now, one thing I do have to mention again though, just because it's so good, is that great little Pixar ball Easter egg detail there on the sash, and admire all the tiny details of the movie accurate patches once again, which Mattel is able to achieve through a digital printing technique instead of paint or stickers. So yeah, anyway, of course I'll be showing a side-by-side comparison of both Russell figures coming up here in a few moments as well, but yes, it seems as though the main body sculpt of this featured favorites Russell is just a slightly modified version of the Interactables Russell figure with honestly very few differences. The head here is obviously new, again the body sculpts are similar but slightly different, and then the sash and hat appear to be exactly the same. Speaking of the hat, here it is. It is removable, and again, this is the same hat that comes with the Interactables Russell figure. I also wanted to quickly look at the hair here, because it's just really well sculpted, I think. Very impressive. And then as far as articulation, his head can rotate 360 degrees. And then as far as his arm on this side, movement there at the shoulder is pretty restricted because of the sash, but the elbow can bend and rotate. Nothing there at the wrist. Legs can be posed out, forward and back like usual. Knees can bend, and nothing at the ankles, but things can rotate here at the knee, and he can rotate all the way around at the waist. And then on this side, his arm does have a lot more range there at the shoulder, and then he has the same joint there at the elbow. So there we have it. It looks like Russell here has 10 points of articulation. And while most of this figure is a hard plastic and the orange neckerchief is not removable, you will notice that it's a little flexible as this part of the figure is made from a softer plastic. And here is Russell's completed look, backpack on, chocolate bar in hand, and he looks absolutely fantastic, guys. The likeness is just so good, and I'm overall super impressed. I love that this Russell, unlike the Interactables version, comes with his backpack and all the gear. That's something that the talking version was lacking. And I will also note that the backpack slips over the arms super easily without any hassle whatsoever, so that was great to find out. It goes on and off with ease. Sometimes backpacks like this on figures can be a pain, kind of like tugging around the figure's arms and trying to make it fit, but nope, it's all good here with this one. And now for that comparison that I promised. Here is the featured favorites Russell on the left and the Interactables talking Russell on the right. And as you can see, the only two main differences are the different head sculpts, of course. The Interactables version's mouth is wide open because that's where the sensor is for the electronic interaction feature where he talks to the other figures. So yes, the featured favorites Russell's smile slash expression is much more natural. And then the only other main difference is the neckerchief. For the Interactables version, that's where the button is to activate the talking feature. And to touch on the back real quick, the only differences I see back here are the Interactables version has a speaker on the back of his head, he has a battery compartment, and then the sash can detach ever so slightly just on the back there in order to access the battery compartment. I also wanted to mention that while Russell does stand up on his own with the backpack on, it's pretty back heavy naturally, so you do have to lean him forward quite a bit in order to make him stand. Not a huge deal, I kind of expected that, but wanted to address that if anyone was curious. And finally, since I know all of you would want to see Russell here next to Mattel's other up 7-inch scale characters, here we have featured favorites Russell with the Spotlight series Kevin with babies and the Interactables Dug figure. Seriously though, Mattel needs to release a featured favorites Carl figure, or release him in the Spotlight series. It doesn't really matter, he'd be a great candidate for either category. We just need him as part of the 7-inch scale line. Please, please, please. Things just won't be complete here with these figures until Carl gets released, so I'm crossing my fingers tight. Alright, well everyone, if you've been collecting Mattel's 7-inch scale figure collection, or you're just a big fan of Up, obviously I'm gonna highly suggest you pick this up on the Mattel Creations site before it sells out for good. Retail price is $23, which is a little much, but guys, this is totally worth it. You will not be disappointed. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, everyone. I cannot wait to hear all your thoughts down in the comments below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye now.